Well, hi there. I'm going to show you how to do my ash stitch, and we can have a look at it right here. And this is it right here. It's got an interesting pattern to it. It's not a very tight stitch, but it's not horribly loose either. And it can be done looser, I'll try to pull it down so you can see. If you used a thinner yarn, you would get more of this look, which is nice too. If you used a much thicker yarn, then it would be a little bit tighter, but it's never going to be that tight. It will always have a little bit of a hole here, and really good for, you can do hats, cowls, scarves, all kinds of things. In the round, it doesn't look very much different. It's pretty much the same. It's probably a little easier to do in the round. It does have a tendency to slant as you get longer, as a lot of stitches with purl over do. So if you ever do decide to use it in a long panel, what you would do if it started to slant too much is you would change the direction of the two stitches. So what you would do is go over one extra time in the purl over, do one extra row of the purl over to get back to the other side, and then do the stitches in a different direction, and that will even it out so it will stop slanting. It'll start to slant the other way. It'll start to zigzag if you wait too long and then turn it over. You'll get it going one way and then another way. But that's what you can do if you find it slants too much for you. It will slant a bit less if you do the purl over row that we're doing in here very, very loose, because then it won't pull it over as much to the other side. Okay, so there's just some tips. This is a stitch video, so I'm not going to be showing you how to do a whole project, but I'm certainly going to give you enough tips that you can use this stitch, because I don't know when I've got a lot of projects on the go. I don't know when I'll get around to making something with this, but I like the way it looks, so I very likely will sometime in the future. Why did I call it ash? Because it just looks like long, it just looks to me like what an ash tree seeds look like on an ash tree. Basically, it reminded me of an ash. Okay, so the loom I'm using, it's from the Derice round loom sets. This is the third one down from the biggest. It has 30 pegs. So it's just like all the other circle sets, like the Nifty Knitter or the Hobby Lobby round set or Michael's round set or whatever. Okay, and it's a 3/4 inch gauge, and the yarn I'm using is a bulky, and it is a King Cole Riot Chunky, and the color is rainbow. Okay, and how thick it is 100 grams gives you 145 yards. Okay, so that tells you around how thick it is. It's not really, really thick, but it's not terribly thin. And it's 30% wool and 70% acrylic. It has a shine to it, very similar to a landscape or faucets yarn, but it doesn't break, and it's like those two. It's a stronger and no problem to bind it off, but it gives you the shiny look. Okay, my loom hook. My loom hook is from We Have a Handle on This. They stopped making them, but they are going to start up again. But for now, you can get very similar loom hooks like this on Etsy. Okay? All right, I think that's everything you need to know. I cast on with a chain cast on. This is what it looks like. If you want to use this cast on, I do have it linked in the description on my channel. All you have to do is scroll down to see it, and you'll see a link to the cast on and the matching cast off. So you have that. Okay? Now, I didn't use any end pegs or anything, but from the way this is looking, as you can see, it's just slightly coming in both ways. I did need to have 2 end pegs. I didn't on this. So when you're doing it, you might want to have 2 end pegs on each side that you mark and do either garter stitch or an owl eye border. Owl eye border would be enough because it's not really curling. It just has a little bit of the sides coming in, so an owl eye border would be enough to stop that. Okay? Or you can do garter or any kind of edge that you like. All right? I just am knitting over on the edge. I was seeing if that edge would be long enough for it. Okay, so the first stitch we're doing is my magic twist stitch. And how you do that, okay, is you go over in a U-wrap, knit off, come around the back and back in front, knit it off, go around the back, back in front, and knit it off again. And then you go to the next peg, knit it from the back, come back in front, knit it off again. From the back in front, knit it off again. This is the kind of stitch that goes really, really fast, and one of the reasons for it is we're putting 3 knits on the peg. So if we look at it, you can already see how much longer this side's got from this side. Much longer that is. So it's really, really going to grow fast. Okay, so we knit over, come back around, knit over again, back around, knit over again. Okay, U-wrap from behind in front and a U-wrap again, from behind in front and a U-wrap again. That's all there is to it. And one more. And all I did here was I just went over it in a U-wrap very, very loosely, came back very, very loosely, even pulled on it just to make it really, really loose. Then I went to the next stitch. Now the next stitch is a stitch by Teresa Higby called Purl Over. And she gave me permission to use her stitch in all my videos. So I will just give a big thank you to her and we will get started. So Purl Over can be a name that will confuse you because pearls are done with the yarn down here. But this stitch is done with the yarn up here like a knit. So what you might want to think as you're doing the purl over, and here's how you do it. You put the yarn over here, you put your loom hook under the yarn, scoop up the top, and just flip it over. Okay? We'll get nice and close. Put it over like this, up from the bottom, scoop it up, and slip it over. Okay, you go over in like a U-wrap, come from the bottom, scoop it up, flip it over. What I think in my head, so I don't mix it up and try to do a purl stitch, because if you did a purl and flipped it over, you'd just be moving your yarn to the back of the loom or the back of the peg. That's not what you want to do. I think of it as I'm going to do a knit, and then I'm going to go down here, pick up the knit, and flip it over. So I think knit and then flip. I think of it as a knit flip stitch. Boy, I'm having trouble getting this loom to stay where it's supposed to stay here. Okay, so we go over it from the bottom and flip. Okay, if your yarn is troublesome and it's hard to flip it, you can go under, take the yarn and just take it in your fingers and flip it over. Whatever works for you. And then I'm just going to do the really, really loose knit. Come back, make sure it's loose. I'll even pull it to loosen it up so it's very, very loose because it's a long stitch and we don't want this to get too tight. But as I said, I don't think I would do this because although I can getting away with it, except it is going to curl in. So it would work if perhaps I was going to do some kind of a tight headband or something out of this. But I would actually use an owl eye border when I do a project. I can tell by looking at this, and I would have done a couple rows of owl eye at the bottom because this will start to curl up too at the bottom here. Okay, and I'm just going to move the camera here if I can. There, and get this loom up a bit in the focus there so that it doesn't quit going down to the bottom. Okay, so now that was row 2. We go back to row 1. Now when we do row 1, we're going to be looking like this on the pegs because that's what purl over looks like on the pegs. You got a flat bar and 2 of these little sidebars. That's what it looks like, and it's going to be tighter on the peg than the U-wraps were from the Magic Twist. But we're going to go over it in a U-wrap. It's going to be a little tight. So if you're finding it tight, do your purl over a lot easier, a lot lighter, a lot looser. So that's 1. Come back over the front and knit it. Come back over the front again and knit it. Over the front and knit it. Come back over and knit. Another U-wrap and knit. Okay, very easy. Keep it nice and loose, and then you won't find it tilting as much to the side. In the round, you don't have to worry about that. I probably will do a project in the round so I don't have to deal with the fact that it wants to move over. And as you can see, it's really going over this way. See how fast it's slanting over? Now you could deal with that by doing 2 rows of purl over with one row of the Magic Twist, and that would help keep it from going over as much here. It would make it a lot tighter too, and you might have a lot of trouble knitting it over sometimes when you do 2 purl over rows it gets really, really tight. Okay, oh, so I'm doing magic here. Magic Twist, so over 1 and 2 and 3, and then over 1 and 2 and 3. You could slip the stitch, but it's not going to do much better than what I'm doing it really, really loosely. I really think it needs at least a 2-peg border. Okay. So then when we go back and we'll go over this stitch once more. So we go over as if to do a U-knit or a U-wrap. We take the working yarn, put it under the yarn, go up, pull up the stitch, and just flip it over and tighten it. That is the purl over stitch. So you can think of it as knit, go under, scoop it up, and flip it over. Knit and flip. Okay? Go like you're going to do a knit, under, scoop it up, and flip it. Okay, do a U-wrap, go under, scoop it up, and flip it, and that is the purl over stitch. Okay, I hope that straightens it up for all of you that keep on thinking it's like the purl stitch and do it and then end up not able to do the purl over. It's actually an easy stitch. Just think of it as knit, go under, scoop it up, and flip it. Okay, knit, scoop under, scoop it up, and flip it. Knit, go under, scoop it up, and flip it. Trying not to split your yarn like I just did. Okay, and then knit over. Although don't do this. I don't think this is the best edge. Okay, so now we're going to look at what it looks like, and as you see, when I pull on it, it is already slanting. I did about 10 rows. It's already slanting quite a bit this way, so you'll have to take that into account. It could be a stitch you did a zigzag with, because you'd be going for quite a long ways that way, and then you could do a purl over the other way so the slant goes the other direction. But in the round it works perfectly. So here you go. Here's what it looks like. It has a really nice look to it, I think. And then your back just looks like this. There. You can sort of see that. But as you see, it's curling in even more here. So you definitely do need a border. It's not curling very much right here, so you don't need too much. A couple rows of owl eye would have helped maybe. But if you do garter at the sides, you could do a row of garter there. Be a very unique look, I think, on a hat and cowl set. So anyway, that's what it looks like. I hope you enjoy figuring out something to do with this stitch. And until the next time, bye.